a lot of people have been considering this one to be the match of the day for them. Yeah. And you can totally understand why. It's two absolute legends going head-to-head. Cypher up against Cooler. This is week 2 of stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. My name is Ketchup, joined by Flea tonight. And are we expecting a crazy good set?
I think so. I mean, these players, they are the very best of the best, right? Cypher has been out of the Pro League up until, of course, he managed to make his way in as a challenger, and then had a pretty amazing run, taking down Rafa, the #1 ranked player in the entire world right now, back at the Italy tournament. Plus, I mean, it's Cypher. Everyone knows and loves the guy because he's just so talented and such an amazing player. But on the other hand, Coollerz, the man who currently holds the belt, right? He is #1 right now. He won stage 1 and convincingly so too. So I think that this one's going to get fireworks.
I feel like it was just poetic in so many ways that Coollerz is our current Quake Pro League champion. You know, he has been playing Quake longer than some people out there that play Quake right now have been alive. Yeah. And with so many like second places and almost there performances, but always being at the top, it was about damn time he won something. Absolutely. Because he's always been good enough, and he finally had his moment at the stage 1 finals. He's going into stage 2 now, riding a ton of that momentum. But he has to go up against Cypher, so this is going to be quite a legendary matchup, I think. But I believe we're going to be showing some Cypher first. We have Cypher coming up to the plate. And it's just natural talent when you factor in Cypher. Like, it's just this really like cerebral just knowing of how to play Quake at the highest level. He makes these crazy decisions, has massive, absolute fearlessness. Like, he will go for these ridiculous plays because he just doesn't fear you. If he knows it's right and he feels like it's the right thing to do, he'll do it. And most of the time, it works and he looks sick. Yeah. But this is the Shark Tank. This is the big dogs of the big dogs at this stage of Quake Pro League, and Coollerz is an adversary, I think we'll put it that way.
And also, I mean, Cypher last week, his performance in week 1 of stage 2 really wasn't all that convincing, going down 0-3 against Kilson. So, maybe that match was a little bit of a wake-up call for him to really show, hey, you're playing in the big leagues right now. Like, this isn't challengers anymore. You're up against the absolute top players in the entire world. So you gotta keep playing and bring your best every single map.
Stage 2 was a wake-up call for a lot of people, it seems, especially with how insane the matches have gone today. We have Coollerz coming up next, and he's just the champ, right? The king and the champ. This guy, what can you say about Coollerz that hasn't already been said a million times over? I know if you're in chat, a lot of people are projecting Coollerz to be the winner of this. We don't know what the score's going to be. I think that's a bit too hard to call. We'll have to wait and see. But Coollerz, just the master of control. Yeah. You know, when you think of a player that can control at the best level of play, Coollerz is the player you think of. And that's the way he's always been. No matter what the Quake, no matter who the opponent, Coollerz plays to absolutely just choke the life out of you.
I mean, in my opinion, Coollerz is like the #1 player when it comes to finding a way. You know, he makes it happen no matter what. Even though Cypher is an incredibly talented player in his own right, Coollerz just has an incredible approach towards so many players and can very quickly change around what needs to be done. If he feels something isn't going his way, even a minute or 2 minutes into a map, he's not going to keep trying the exact same thing, but he will adapt very quickly and effectively too.
Let's have a look at the picks and bans. We'll see what we can grow to expect. Awoken up first. Coollerz is going in with the Strog. Galena was banned away. Banning Galena from Cypher, it's a good call. Yeah. He's such an efficient Galena.
I mean, Cypher was playing Galena back at the very beginning.
When no one else was.
When literally no one else was, when she was a lot less powerful than she is now.
We remember Ruins of Sarnath well. That was Slash back in the day with Cypher. But he's going to be going in with Nyx as the first pick. Blood Covenant up next. Interesting, actually. Coollerz going in with the BJ pick for Blood Covenant. He's going for pure damage, and the Visor, a much more traditional pick with the Ranger removed. Blood Run's the final map. Ison versus Doomslayer. Slash was removed from play. Of all of these picks, I think BJ's the one I'm looking at the most. Like, I want to see what Coollerz got up his sleeve.
Yeah, I'm a little curious about the Slash ban on Blood Run, because it definitely isn't the kind of map that she's traditionally a good pick at,
that
right?
Kind of screams to me a Cypher-specific ban.
Yeah.
Because Cypher, we just actually remarked. Funny you should mention how when Quake Champions first dipped its toes into the world of esports, Cypher and Toxic were kind of the only two players really using Slash.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on every map, it was mostly Ruins of Sarnath. But this idea of the risk of using Slash in a map that you normally wouldn't have really thought about back in the day when everyone wasn't quite sure about the meta of when to use what champions and stuff like that. There's a possibility that perhaps Slash was removed there just on the off chance that Cypher plays it on that map, and he's really good with it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Coollerz, he would never just ban any champion without a good reason, right? As I just said, he knows every player extremely well, and he goes into every matchup with a solid plan, and that's exactly what I think he banned the Slash for.
Well, we're expecting one hell of a matchup here. Two legends head-to-head, Coollerz the King and the Heartbreaker himself. It's going to be Cypher. We're going to be checking out Cypher first. On that note, the Nyx, that Ghost Walk. We've just seen the miracles that Ghost Walk can perform. Yeah. Especially on a map like this where it's very easy to get stuck in a very unfavorable position.
And also a few nice jumps when you're next on this map, right? The wall jump you can get from rockets to that small armor, that T section right now, as well as a number of other interesting little maneuvers. So Cypher's got a lot of mobility, and it looks like we're immediately getting a very slow-paced opening. Coollerz just kind of sticking around the railgun side of the map. Cypher landing a tiny little bit of opening damage, but doesn't have much to go with. And right now what you're seeing is that Coollerz doesn't have the lightning gun, and Cypher doesn't have the railgun. And they both kind of want to deny that item, or that weapon rather, to their opponents, but at this point it's a little bit of a stalemate.
They have the same idea.
Yeah.
Even down to the first, well, I guess technically the second spawn of the items, waiting for the other player to maybe move in turn caused almost an identical delay in between the two of them. And there's some opening damage. Cypher gonna get first impact, but has to be careful about how he retreats. If he knows the Mega's just been taken, there's a chance Coollerz might get in position. He does in fact have a rail. Coollerz is not making it easy for him to get this railgun at all.
Yeah, Cypher, oh wow, still 40 damage of that one. Cypher doesn't really want to get the rail too quickly, right? He's just gonna wait for the right time to secure himself that weapon.
Thanks to Nyx's wall jump, he was able to go and get the rail without giving up an angle too. The gift that keeps on giving. Rail is gonna miss its mark, and he was waiting for him to fall down. Follows up with the rail, but unfortunately misses its mark. Looking for another rail. They both have the right idea. They both know where each other is, but they're both failing to hit those initial rail shots, creating more of a stalemate so far. The next objective could be the Mega.
Yeah.
But Coollerz is in a far better position to take it. Cypher doesn't want to use his Ghost Walk to initiate. He needs to keep it as a getaway card.
And we are actually seeing a bit of a delay between the two items right now. So Coollerz just picked up Mega. He's racing over towards Heavy. He could attempt to make a move, but he's instead just gonna let it be. Here we go. We're going to get our first big fight, LG on LG, but Coollerz is just going to retreat after Cypher did end up taking the heavy armor.
Cypher being very patient indeed. Coollerz cutting. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice light show. But excellent rocket. Coollerz immediately forced onto the back foot and forced to concede the Mega. So the question is, what does Coollerz do now? He's extremely weak. Can't give any information. He can't make any noise. Even collecting that armor, if it's available, would give away his position.
Yeah, he has around 50 points of health. That rocket, that is going to reveal where he's at right now. Cypher has got a monstrous stack for a Nyx. Mega will be up in just a few seconds, and Coollerz right now, as I said, a very adaptive player. He's just immediately going to switch things around, drop that aggression, and go right back to continuing his passive play for the time being.
Now Cypher, once more trying to deny. Aggressive Ghost Walk used for the first time is going to take Coollerz by surprise. And the first blood, 3 minutes and 25 seconds in, is going to go to Cypher. The one time he used the aggressive Ghost Walk was the one time Cooler just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, and a very good time to use it at 2, just coming out of it just above Cooler, falling down onto the heavy. Even though the Russian player did manage to secure himself the heavy, Cypher just had the opening damage and he had the element of surprise, and Cooler just absolutely not ready for that. But here we go, LG on LG. This should be going Cypher's way. He will take down Cooler once again. And he still has quite a lot of stack to work with, a small armor to pick up as well. So if Cooler was just throwing his life at Cypher in an attempt to damage him for the next situation, the next rotation, that really didn't work out for him.
Denying the light, giving Cooler absolutely nothing to work with. Mega just about to spawn. Rocket jumps in because he knows the jump pad is too risky, but Cooler drops right as Mega spawns. Really tries to push his way in, but it does not work. Cypher, he's been doing a great job of just seem to be avoiding damage when these fights are breaking out. Even Alan, these rockets, they're just not hitting their mark at all. Cooler trying to get some damage, but Cypher just making himself impossible to pin down.
Yep. Good push and chase from Cypher there as well. I think that Cooler is now starting to switch things around a little bit, maybe trying to be a little bit less aggressive. And the moment I say it, he's just gonna go in with the LG. Unfortunately for him, Mega already spawned and Cypher took it. Oh, I think Cooler was just hoping to get the frag before Mega spawned, and if he hadn't gotten stuck in that little cubby right there, he might have actually made it work. But unfortunately for him, Cypher got that extra health injection that got him the kill. Oh, that's a shame.
Had the right idea, just not quite the angle.
Yeah.
Now Cooler, this is a potential opportunity to lay some pressure on here. Ghost Walk used just in case, cannot risk it. Looks for a rail shot, hits its mark, takes out some of that juicy Mega health that Cooler was able to bring back, but we have long surpassed that 5-minute warning. Cypher completely and utterly in the lead, leading the charge with 5 frags to 0 right now. Ghost Walk is about to spawn. Caught on the jump pad, should be an opening for Cooler, and Cooler's going to take it with both hands.
Yeah.
But how does he capitalize on the spawn? The heavy's now available, of which he collects it. Rail's already been collected, that's information. He now knows he has to watch out for it. And the dodges are real. Not before Mega gets taken though. Cypher.
Good play from Cypher to immediately use that Ghost Walk, because he knew that in that confrontation he only stood to lose his stack as he goes down again. But still, very good Ghost Walk earlier, because you don't want to stick around and lose all the stack that you just gained, even though it might mean sacrificing your ability. Cooler, excellent rocket jump, and right now the frags are just starting to bleed on through. Cooler closing the gap.
In a much faster amount of time, we might see Cooler tie things up 5-5. We were talking about how, like, barely a minute ago that Cypher was the one in a commanding lead, and just like that, Cooler's been able to take 3 frags. Only 2 left to go now to tie things up some.
Yeah.
Cypher, he has got the means to change the pace. Oh, wow. Cooler didn't check the very corner and ate a bunch of rocket damage for it.
That was a beautiful wall jump. Cypher just wall jumped over his head and then rocketed him in the back. Cooler's gonna be reeling from that one, back to the drawing board. It's got a restack. Cypher relentlessly pushing in, just ghost walking away when he feels that he can't quite do the damage. No armor for Cypher though, that's gonna hold him back a little bit. He definitely wants some more of that before engaging Cooler.
Aim of the game is gonna shift up now. Ultimate defense if he can. Those rails, very good rail in fact. As long as you're keeping Cooler down. He's going in for the kill. Cypher's pushing in, does not want to give it up. And he gets some beautiful LG at the same time. We were just talking about how he can play defensive if he wants to. I almost feel like maybe Cooler was prepared for that. And here comes Cypher, full speed ahead, forcing him to turn around. It's like, wait, you came in, really?
Yeah, and that was a rocket jump too, right? Cooler just absolutely not expecting that. And then he takes a little bit of LG in the back and he turns around and he's like, how are you still hitting me from that angle? And then Cypher is already around the corner once again with more lightning gun to take him down quickly. And now Cooler, yeah. He knows he has only 2 minutes left on the clock. He's got to start pushing, even if it means going through these choke points. And Cypher plays those to perfection.
2 minutes on the clock and a lot of work to do. I'm not going to call it impossible just yet, but the longer it takes for this fight to break out and hopefully for Cooler to come out on top in his eyes. We don't have a lot of it. Miss rail. Every rail that misses.
Oh.
Perfect timing, absolutely perfect timing. Ghost Walk onto Mega. And there's no way Cooler could account for that. If he stayed on Mega, he might have even got perforated for it.
Those are the kind of plays that people love Cypher for. He just thinks outside of the box, and then he just uses the Ghost Walk, pushes in aggressively, and Cooler is just standing 2 meters away from the Mega pickup, and then Cypher all of a sudden out of nowhere just appears and steals the item right from underneath his nose to even get a frag to boot.
Tries to force his way into the Mega. Cooler does get the Mega, but this Ghost Walk, it's just gonna waste time. Even if Cypher is in a bad position with his stack, there's so many ways he can run away. Cooler needs to chase him down, and then he needs to daisy chain as many frags as he can, but Cypher, taking too long to find, is forcing Cooler to have to reposition. This is such an annoying part of the map. Wonderful rail to turn him, but 4 minutes, that's like average, 1 frag, 10 seconds. I'm not so sure, Flea.
Yeah, especially not with the Ghost Hawk that's going to be up in just 5 seconds from now. That will give Cypher another respite and get away from Coollerz unrelenting damage. There he is. Pops the Ghost Hawk, and at this point, it is no longer possible. Cypher got out of jail free card, and he used it very well too, even though he will be going down. And once again, maybe even give up 1 more frag in these final 10 seconds. It has been decided. It's over and done. Cypher taking map 1.
This was a great result already for Cypher. You've always got your eyes fixated on the player that has not a lot of points.
Yeah.
You know, Cypher is able to win his way through, so he's not in crazy danger yet, because, I mean, he had a decent amount of points, right, as we went into stage number 2, thanks to his performance in Italy at the same time. He's been absolutely on a crazy tear.
Yeah.
But now we're going into the weekly broadcasts. Every win you can take, every single map you can take, is vital when you've just come from challenges.
Absolutely.
You want to do more than make a statement. You want to push as far as you can. Don't even look back at relegation matches, because that's not for you.
Yeah.
You're beyond that, and that's what Cypher's constantly looking for. Is he's not a player that's going to just be sitting there crawling his way into relegation. He wants more than that for himself.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, he clearly has his sights set on the future, right? Because even though he lost to Kilson 3-0 last week, Cooler beat Kilson 3-0 in Italy. So what is even happening for Cypher to just upend all of those expectations and extremely quickly and cleanly take out that first map against Cooler?
I mean, this didn't look like a skill gap to me. This didn't look like Cooler, who has been absolutely top level of Time Limit Duel since the beginning, and Cypher, who had a rocky road up until this point. It looks like, from maps like this, it looks like Cypher's always been there.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, especially any Cypher fan out there, kind of like which was the upsetting thing about his struggle on the way to the top. And he has, without question, Cypher has the biggest redemption story of any player in this community.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you are a absolute world champion status player going into Quake Champions, and you spent 2 years falling short, of course he's going to be more disappointed than anybody for how things have gone. But the second Time Limit Duel has become the way. This is the one and only competitive Quake Champions mode. Cypher has looked so much better. It's almost like Time Limit Duel was his bread and butter or something.
It really is. I mean, this is what these players were born and raised with, essentially, right? Rounds was only a relatively new introduction to the series, but this is what they have played thousands of hours on. Look at the damage. 5 points of damage of a difference, and just 2 points of difference in accuracy, LG accuracy rather.
Almost identical damage, but a very different KD.
Yeah.
And that is the testament to how the fights were picked. Cypher, when he picked those moments, he almost guaranteed the frag before the fight had even begun. And his braveness for Nyx. You're used to seeing Nyx get used purely as a means to say, oh, watch out, I've made a mistake, and then you pop it to try and escape. Cypher consistently used it to go in for the kill. Surgical timing to steal away the Mega.
Yep.
Surprising Cooler in a situation he is not ready for. It's rare that you catch Cooler off guard.
Oh, yeah.
He is such an aware player. Mechanical skill through and through. It's rare that you'll surprise him.
Yeah, absolutely. And since both of these players are just such fan favorites, I want to see something from chat. Like, I want to see who do you support. Now that we've got the first map out of the way, I want to see some Cyphers. I want to see some Coolers in chat. Show some love for the player that you want to take home this series.
If you haven't shared this series out, by the way, what are you doing? Do it right now. If anyone's watching Arena FPS, if they just like bloody video games in general, these quite crazy matchup with Cypher and Cooler. Make sure you're following the Quake Champions Twitter page. Make sure you're sharing out the stream. I feel like this is a part of Quake Champions history that's going on right now, right? We're seeing the rise of Cypher after many, many years. It's great to be a part of it.
Call your mom. Be like, Mom,
Cypher's against Cooler. Get a camera. Mom, get a camera.
That's what we're asking of you right now, guys. Get those people in here. This is Quake history.
Tell you, yeah.
Nothing more to be said than that as we jump into map 2. And this is going to be an interesting one.
We'll see how the turnaround is going to be. This was one of the question marks that Coollerz actually gone in with the BJ pick on Blood Covenant. This is not a map that you always see BJ get selected on because he's all damage. Right, the dual wield will serve the purpose to push people away from major items. Granted, the Mega, BJ with dual wield on Mega, I can imagine nothing else more scary at that point. If you're using a jump pad and he's got 2 LGs out, happy days. But Cypher going much more traditional. He's got that piercing sight, he's got the visor. Should have rail by spawn side.
When it comes to champion picks, I definitely would favor the visor on this map. But maybe Cooler, being Cooler, maybe he knows something that none of us mere mortals have figured out at this point. And look at that, he's landing some good rails. Yep, good opening damage on Cypher right now.
And the rockets are looking tasty as well. That's a lot of tri-bomb to deter those Cypher. It's a wonderful shot.
Cooler right now chasing Cypher. Both players actually not even at base stack right now. Oh, Cypher using the ghost or the piercing sight perfectly right there, landing an excellent rocket on Cooler, sending him flying backwards, and stats at this point are pretty much identical.
And that's where the dual wield's going to come into account. It's not necessarily about the damage. Nice rail, actually, as he comes through. But yeah, the dual wield is to push people away from items that you really want. In this case, it was to secure the heavy, force Cypher away to get the Mega instead.
Cooller's got a pretty good idea of where Cypher is at right now, but just doesn't quite seem that. I believe 100 damage rocket, so Cypher edges out the win in that confrontation by a mere 10 points of damage. But just look at that. Both of these players, they're just not even reaching 100-100 because they keep doing so much damage to one another.
You're saying? Oh
yeah,
my
right
word,
now.
He's looking for more. Does Cypher use the teleporter? A bit brave. Wow, that rocket! Pushing Cooler down into a situation he definitely doesn't want to be in. Has to put a lot of confidence. Cypher in and out just to steal the Mega. He goes up again! You madman! You absolute insane person. Can he even get away though, Flea? That's what we wonder.
He should be able to still get out, but that dual heavy machine gun might just explain why Cooler picked BJ for this map. That was an insane amount of damage just coming out of absolutely nowhere rather than a rail. So Cooler might have figured something out here. Like, instead of relying on the railgun, especially because your opponent can deny that pretty easily on this map, just use the dual heavy machine gun and you're gonna be popping 30 damage apiece. That's so insane.
I mean, think about the reality, right? The dual wield of the sheer threat of the dual wield and the positioning you have to go in to take heavy. We'll get back into that in a sec, as they're going to go for a suicide right there. Trade it out. Back to 0-0. Cypher gets a fresh spawn near the heavy. I can actually put him in a position to maybe try and take the Mega away.
I feel like that trade just perfectly sums up the map so far, right? It's just constant trades of damage over and over without any player being able to establish consistent control. Cypher sneakily waiting up at the railgun, landing some minor rocket damage.
But I'm kind of theory crafting the reality of that dual wield. Heavy location, it's just scary to get caught by. So it'll scare the opponent away to just go and take the heavy for yourself, like we saw at the very beginning. And then Mega side, damage if you get pinned there. And then, yeah, the use of the heavy machine gun instead of the rail. I think it's a really interesting choice.
Oh, yeah. And
I
now
love the evolution of the champion picks. I love it.
Yeah, the meta just keeps changing, and it is wonderful indeed. Keeps all the players on their toes and constantly trying to figure out and try out new things. That was an excellent rail from Cooler. A lot of unreturned damage. And here come the double rockets into the double LG, and Cooler will be able to put himself on the board first. 1-0.
We can talk in droves about the use of the dual wield, but one thing that never changed is what you saw right there. Just melting the health down. This is the rail. Should allow Cypher to get the Mega. Can he concede? No, he gets hit by another rail. Cooler actually pretty weak himself, even with the passive, which is going to bring his stack back up. To fight the rocket.
with 10 points of health left, and that was not an easy rocket to hit because Coollerz actually had the high ground. Cypher had to aim up that little flight of stairs and still landed an almost perfect shot. That was an amazing display of rocket skill, and of course rockets are something that Cypher's very well known for.
He's got to be very careful with the stack now. That's why he's opting to try and go down. Springs the trap on Coollerz. All the same misses. The rail was really banking on that rail to connect so he could go in for the kill. And unfortunately, missing that rail, he just ate a bunch of machine gun for his troubles. Coollerz, full speed ahead. Can he finish it? He's trying to run away, but he's just slightly out of range for the LG to be a threat. Coollerz gave up way more stack than I think he was willing to go for.
I think so too, and now Cypher catches him in the corner. That knockback just preventing Coollerz from even exiting the room.
He went 2 all in there, I think, Flea. Just he had so much confidence that he could chase it with the LG. You understand why he made that choice, but Cypher was just constantly on the very edge of the effective range. And then he's answering back with the machine guns, the rockets to keep him at bay. Gets sprung the trap. No rockets hitting their mark, giving Cypher a little bit of maybe limited information. Might not have been convinced he was round there, going up the jump pad, thinking it was safe.
Yeah, perhaps a bit too aggressive of a push from Cypher right there. Maybe under the assumption that he did a bit more damage with his own heavy machine gun than he actually did. Because ultimately that will be Coollerz tying things right back up, 2-2. Nega will be going his way as well. Now there's a very nice split between the two major items. So maybe at long last we will see one of these two players establish consistent control.
I feel like this is exactly the map that I wanted to see. Just absolute, by purest definition, evenly matched.
Yeah.
There's not much of it left, unfortunately. Less than 4 minutes to go. The dual wield's going to get popped. Coollerz has to plan his attack very carefully. He gets caught mid-jump, but the combo into the rail. Finishing the job 3-2. He's going to reward himself with that mega. And he's got plenty of ammo left. If he catches Cypher, can still go in if he wants to.
And that was such a sick display of skill, because landing shots with dual rail is so difficult. Who's gonna take this one? Stacks are pretty much evil. Cypher is just going to push in first, and Coollerz keeps his distance. And now damages the super shotgun.
Threat of the shotgun's always going to be real when you're standing right next to where it spawns.
A little bit of damage coming out right there with the machine gun. Cypher will take anything he can get right now. Rockets looking so good! Get psyched indeed! Coollerz 5-2, extending his lead.
Cypher tries to be aggressive, running the risk of being a bit too aggressive now. Looking to try and just steal the frag away, and he hits some wonderful damage on the nails. It's just Cooler's stack is severe.
That sound of that LG though. Few things like it when Coollerz just hits that amount of LG on Cypher, just trying to muscle into the room, and Coollerz just like, are you sure you want this? Clearly you don't.
Oh, the timing. Coollerz here's the jump pad and knows exactly when Cypher's likely to go up top. Can't even ledge grab with that one. You're stuck in the tunnel and there's nothing you can do about it.
Nice longer distance shotgun as well. And look at that heavy machine gun damage just melting Cypher's stack. He has to retreat, can't stick around. But still, he has only 2 minutes left, so he has to start making something happen, and he has to do so quickly as well.
And that tri-bolt, unfortunately for Cypher, no other weapon needed. Stuck in an awkward position down there.
Yeah.
There's limited places to run away. The tri-bolt's just peppering you from up top. Doesn't even matter if Visor can see that one coming.
Nope, and that was right on the top of his head as well, and now Coollerz will take another heavy look at that stack advantage. Cypher has got to pull a miracle to even tie this series up before the time limit expires. And Coollerz doing a really good job keeping his opponent at bay with that tri-bolt, not a weapon that you see used this effectively all that often.
And he's got that heavy machine gun dual wield, just in case Cypher sticks his head around it. There's no really any rail required at this stage. He's doing so much work with the machine gun itself. Who cares? And now again, just wasting time. It's taken Cypher far too long to be able to secure this frag to begin with. He's going to go in now. Another frag's going to drop. 100%. This is going to be Cooller's map win, taking us to the final map to determine who's actually going to win it. Not about bonus points here. It's all about trying to find out a winner. There's that 1 minute warning, and Coollerz, he just ran the control. I feel like it's poetic of Coollerz to win by pure, complete and utter control on this map.
Yeah. And I think that this is an outcome that many people really were hoping for, right? Rather than a 2-0 and then a third map just to see it's 1-1. And both of these other legends of Quake are going to face down once more to decide who will be taking home the series. Will it be Cypher? Will it be Cooler? One thing's for sure, this map won't be going to Cypher.
30 seconds for Cypher to think. Now, if there wasn't such a crazy deficit, this wouldn't be so bad. There'd be a real opportunity for this, because Cypher has racked up a couple of frags now. Looking to maybe even get one more. If only it wasn't such a crazy difference. This might be different. But to me, this is just about Cypher getting experience. Like, he's racking up the frags here. He's getting the frags over and over again. He's keeping his method of the spawn trapping. He's hitting the rails. He's hitting the rockets. Just keep that execution in your hands. Keep your hands warm, because we're going into the third and final map, and we have to just keep that level of consistency.
Yeah, and you can really sometimes see differences on how players like to approach that, right? Once they've lost, some of them are just like, you know what, I just want to end this as soon as quickly, reset my mind, not even think about the previous map anymore. But then others are really more on the side of, you know, I'm going to use this time that I still have to maybe try and understand my opponent just a little bit better, or just keep my shape or my aim in absolute top shape and just move into the next map as warm and prepared as I can.
We're going into the final map situation. I love that point where we obviously do the 3 maps regardless of outcome. But when it's one player that has a map each, it's great for setting up how we think the rest of it's going to go. Cypher and Cooler, they looked evenly matched up until the point it just slipped through Cypher's fingers, and Cooler just absolutely went on a tear, for lack of a better term. And part of that was Cypher trying to refrag, I think, trying to kind of just seize that control back a little bit, just to stop Cooler from being too comfortable. But he gave up quite a few frags. But even, you know, frags down there, just completely and utterly punished.
Yep, and there we go, 2-2, and now we're gonna see finally the dual wield come out on the replay, and god damn, did Cooler make that work? We were both a little skeptical, I feel like, at the start of the BJ on this map.
You're so used to seeing players go in with absolute utility of, like, sustainability, maybe it's the totems, maybe it's obstacles that you can create, and in other cases, it's just straight up movement. Right, people will play champions because that's so good. What a sequence! But it's the other one is movement, where people pick champions they want to navigate really heavily with. Maybe they'll want a double jump. Maybe they'll just want basically high movement speed, so jumps like bridge to rail are nice and easy. You very rarely see someone just go, "I'm gonna pick a damage dealer." But the dual wield, it served so many purposes throughout this map, and it was, you know, the heavy machine gun played a massive part in that, shutting down near Mega, having another massively ranged option without having to rely on the railgun all the time. So, you know, you're not always going to be in a position where you can use the rail. So having another full, like, max map range option with the damage that the dual wield brings to the table, hey, Coollerz onto something.
Yeah, and he used it very well several times, right? Just to pepper out so much damage, because railgun in the end, it can be pretty inconsistent, right? It only shoots every so often, doesn't put out a consistent stream of damage. So if you miss a rail, or even miss 2 of them in a row, and your opponent is even just hitting you with a basic single machine gun, I mean, that's gonna hugely tilt the situation in his favor. So if you can just whip out those dual MGs and hit 15 damage a bullet, I mean, that just stacks up so quickly.
So we should be loading into the third and final map very, very soon. It's going to be the Blood Run, the interesting removal of the slash. I'm still thinking about that. But Cypher gets some initial damage, and the nail hurts a lot, but not enough to sway Cooler, as he actually takes quite a lot of those. Cypher doing a great job of just keeping him at bay. You'd never think that Cooler got as stacked as he did with the amount of damage that Cypher just dished out.
Oh, yeah. And this is not shaping up to be a traditional Blood Run where both players just, you know, they kind of see how the situation develops. They, you know, they just try to get one frag in the lead and then they see what happens. But no, both players seem to be playing an extremely aggressive game so far. Lots of damage being exchanged. No fear on either side. That much is clear.
I wonder if shades of the traditional Blood Run might start to appear eventually. It depends on who gets the frag and how both these players carry. It's unlikely that either are going to overextend just yet. Least of all Cooler. I think Coollerz is going to play this a lot more patiently. Cypher, there's always the risk that he's just going to do something playing by the heart that feels right at the right time. And Cooler has to factor that in. They both get entry damage on the rocket. Decent damage either way. Right now it looks like Cypher's on the fat stack, but the rail connecting. is going to undo that quite quickly. Cooler in the best position to take Mega.
That's what I'm really expecting as well. If Cypher gets a lead of 2 or 3 frags, he's just going to keep playing the same game for the rest of the map. But if it's Cooler who gets the early lead, I really can imagine him just slowing things down and playing that traditional defensive blood run. All remains to be seen, though.
Yeah, Cooler's hitting a lot more rails than Cypher so far. And on Blood Run, that's bad news if you're on the receiving end of it. Nice delay, just take the light. Fight's breaking out near heavy. Cypher was forced away. Benefit of Doomslayer on Blood Run means the double jump lets him take the heavy without putting himself in harm's way for damage. He is going to take a lot of damage, looking for a rail angle. Undoes the work, but 2 stack left to go. Even with that light health, it means nothing. Even with that armor, he's not in great shape. If Cypher catches him off guard and he manages to get himself a light armor, which I think Cooler is actually keeping an eye on, just in case he tries to take it. Oh, hello! Spring the trap and
Cooler
steal
was
the first
not
frag.
ready for that at all. Cypher was just patiently sitting around waiting for that small armor to spawn, and Cooler was just like, let me come see what's up over here, looking completely the wrong way. Cypher, can he make a second one? 8 points of health. Cooler, what are you doing? 3 points of health.
He's making us worry about him, please. Worrying about himself. Can you imagine if he died?
The heart rate just shot up a lot right there. I could totally have seen him die to the turret right there. One more bullet would have done it.
Excellent rail. Forced onto the jump pad too. Cypher's going to have those small health bubbles to retreat to. Doubling back to the turret again. Hi, mate.
Still just 10 points of health, and Cooler is still just sticking around, but that is of course because he knows that after those 2 rails, Cypher cannot be that healthy himself. But all of that changes right now. Cypher picks up the Mega, and Heavy will be up in around 15 seconds.
In the time it takes for the small pickups to appear near power-up room, you kind of have to understand you're going to concede at least 1 rotation of the major items, because you're not even close to being in position to fight for either of them. 1 missed rocket, so Cooler hits this rail, he can undo the stack. Unfortunately, it's going to miss. He is down to just a basic stack, and even taking those light armors, it's going to be a risk. A heavily stacked Cypher with a rail in sight. He's looking for opportunities for you to try and stack up normally.
Yeah. And we're seeing much more of the traditional Blood Run right now, even without either player having a lead. Cooler is just slowing things down. He knows he's massively out of control, and he's just going to play essentially the hiding game. He's up here at top green, around secret, and he's just going to use the items and the weapons, or the ammo rather, that he found over there. But there comes Cypher so quickly with the rocket jump.
Ooh, oh
my god, 160 damage to the face. And Cypher will have to retreat. Oh, nice tri-bolt. But still,
it was well-timed from Cypher. Understand he's going to go in first, but not without making sure there is a heavy to retreat to. The backup plan is in full play. Goes through the teleporter, but although Cypher has the massive stack, Cooler is just making it very hard to pin him down.
Yeah.
It almost looks like Cooler is the one that's dictating the pace of this, even though he's the one that doesn't have the stack. It's bizarre. But Cypher, if he makes a fight break out, he catches him near heavy, he springs it perfectly, and Cooler takes the bait. Cypher deletes Cooler after that.
Yep, that was just awful timing from Cooler, jumping across at the worst possible moment. I think he even took some damage from the turret there as well that Cypher had placed down there earlier. And right now we're nearing the halfway point, and it is Cypher who is 1 frag in the lead. So are we going to see him actually do what most people would do on Blood Run? Slow things down massively, switch to a passive playstyle? Or is he going to just keep playing the same game that has brought him that 1 frag lead?
Well, he's out-stacking Cooler for another time, significantly in fact, and he has full control. Got the Mega with no return damage, a little bit of rocket damage. That's going to be information for Cooler that he was in fact correct on where Cypher was going to go. But how much is that going to matter? Cypher has so much more stack, the rocket doesn't hit its mark, so there's no entry damage. Trying to fight his way towards heavy, and just feels like he's mistimed it. I feel like he might have even lost timing. He was 5 seconds early on that, at least.
And at this level of Quake, even 1 second too early can spell disaster for you. So Cypher definitely is not going to get the Russian player get away with that one. And look at that enormous stack, and he just keeps landing the shots.
Denies the light.
Yep.
As long as Cypher maintains control and makes sure while he's running that cycle, he's taking away the light armors. If you're hitting rails versus Cooler, he has literally nothing but health bubbles to come back with. And that won't cut it if you're trying to avoid rail damage. Tribot getting peppered down. Risky for Cooler to fight for it. And look, because he's taking away the light armors, Cooler has very little avenue to get armor at all. He's stuck down on the bottom mid teleporter just in case. Cypher jumps down, but once more Cooler, he's just having to give up so much control, and he's losing so much time to do so. We might see Cypher take this 2-1 at this rate.
Yeah. And Cypher definitely isn't really switching to a passive playstyle, right? He's still just putting on the pressure, but that rocket, that is going to empower Cooler. It's going to embolden him, and he's going to want to get some more damage in on the board. Cypher does get that heavy armor, but doesn't really have much more to work with at this point. He's around 90 health, 100 armor. Mega will help top him up quite a bit, but Cooler, I mean, he's 150, so not looking that bad himself.
More denial.
Yeah.
Running the rotation. Cooler with the basic stack. Trades the rail, but with no armor to retreat to. That's only going to be good news for Cypher, who's just looking for an opportunity to finish it. The turret. Even if Cypher didn't see him, if Cooler put his foot in there, the turret would have given his position away.
Yeah.
At no point has Cooler had control. He had control at the very beginning thanks to the double jump, and that's as far as it's gone. The rest of it has been the Cypher show through and through.
Yeah, Cypher's been playing a very good blood run so far, even though this is traditionally the Russian map. It looks like Cypher's got himself a pretty nice lead, and even though 2 frags might not seem like all that much on most maps, but on blood run, it's a fair bit.
The longer Cooler is now being pushed away. That turret did so much damage, actually forcing him to collect the health bubbles before Cypher even appeared, and that's just bad news. Cooler's now in a really tricky position, ready for that rail angle. And he'll just click accordingly to finish that one. But that turret did so much damage, it both gave Cooler's position away and then forced him to heal up on the bubbles before Cypher even showed its face.
Yeah, and another 40 coming out of those 2 plasma bolts, pelleting down on Cooler, and at this point he has less than 2 minutes left. He really has to make something brilliant happen right now. If any player can do it, it's Cooler, but it's not going to be easy.
This would be an insane result for Cypher. Taken out the current champion in an early stage of stage 2. That's going to send one hell of a message to the rest of the competition that Cypher is in fact here to play. And
using the great.
Oh man.
I love it when that happens, and now Cooler, they gets another engagement, another shot at taking down Cypher. I think he has no choice other than to try and chase, but he still just takes his time. I think he might be waiting a little bit too much, and that might have been the final opportunity for him to really make something happen.
3 frags in a minute and 10. He needs to get the frag and then catch Cypher on spawn every single time. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be within the absolute nick of time, but I just feel like no one knows that more than Cypher. And there's no way Cypher is going to simply allow that to happen.
Yeah. And he knows Cooler, if he wants to try and chase, that's where he's going to come from. So he's just going to sit back, point his railgun at that doorway, and wait for Cooler to make an appearance. And at this point, 40 seconds left. I mean, Cooler hasn't found Cypher yet. He's running around the map, aimlessly trying to find him, even messing up the rocket jump, showing a little bit of frustration, I feel like. Cooler is just going to stop moving. He knows it's over and done. Cypher outplayed him on Blood Run.
And it's the unfair 2v1 coming in.
Yeah.
The turret wants to get all the glory for itself. What a result for Cypher.
Yeah.
Breaking his way straight through into Stage 2 through Challengers. Having one hell of a tournament at the Stage 1 finals in Italy. And now back into the weekly stage. Stage 2. Cypher is going to defeat Cooler. What a crazy, crazy performance this was.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think that many people would have expected this in the end, right? Because Cypher so far, as you mentioned earlier, his performance in Quake Champions really hasn't been all that good or consistent. Let's put it that way. He wasn't at QuakeCon, a tournament that Cooler just absolutely dominated up until the grand finals, and now Cooler just won in Italy. And here we go. Cypher out of nowhere makes his way through Challengers, takes down Rafa, not a problem. And here we go. Cooler. Okay, I'll take care of him as well. Why not?
I mean, one would think that this could very well be the season of Cypher.
It could be.
This is... We love a good redemption story, don't
Absolutely.
we? But what a crazy one this is, that Cypher had a rocky road reaching this point. Here he is in Stage 2, and he is more than... I mean, look, some people say he needs to prove that he can hang with the big dogs. He just defeated the champion 2-1.
I mean, no one can throw shade anymore right now. Cypher making it absolutely clear that he is a top contestant. He's got the skills, he's got the brain, and my god, is he showing it off.
It was no pun intended, it was heartbreaking for 2 years to see the point where some of Cypher's fans had kind of lost faith in him. We reached a point with certain lands where normally it was Cypher's going to win, Cypher's going to win, Cypher's going to win, and as each land started to go forward, people are starting to be like, oh, I'm not so sure anymore. And they were so upset in themselves to be having those thoughts.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look at what's going on now, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Cypher, the absolute return to glory, defeating Coollerz 2-1, and this is early in Stage 2. We have plenty of more weeks left to go, and plenty more people for Cypher to potentially upset throughout the season.
And just looking at the map stats for a moment right there, Cypher getting more damage in than his opponent, and also doubling his count of major items. Got more than double the heavies and double the megas, so that really shows the consistency of Cypher's control.
There's so many potential stories that will be going on as we progress in Stage 2, and the rise to power from Cypher might possibly be my favorite one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you gotta love him, right? Cypher was one of the first players that I really looked up to when I started getting into the Quake scene, so it's great to see him be able to get back and play with the very best and win the way that he just did against Coollerz, so I'm looking forward to whatever else he has to bring.
I can imagine chat is currently divided, potentially, because, I mean, Coollerz and Cypher, these guys both have a pretty substantial fan club, right?
Yeah.
People's champs and all the way through, but had to go head-to-head eventually. We're fortunate that we got it so early, I think, but wow.
Yeah, and on that note, I think we're just going to cut to a quick break before we get back to the final match of today.
We will indeed.
Yeah,
See you in a bit.
See you in a few minutes.